A homeless woman saved a child from a fire. Minutes later, the millionaire CEO appeared looking for her. It was a cold and cloudy morning in the suburbs of Portland, the kind of winter day that felt heavier than usual. The clouds hung low, the frost still clung to the roofs, and the streets were unusually quiet under a sky that threatened snow, but never let it fall. But that silence was broken shortly after 8 a.m., when dense black smoke began to waft towards the sky over a complex of luxury apartments known as Hawthorne Residences, an exclusive gated building nestled between elegant condominiums and well-kept trees. The fire had begun in a unit on the second floor, probably due to an electrical failure, and spread more quickly than expected. The flames lashed through the corridor, consuming the plaster, melting the plastic, and triggering chaos while the residents ran out into the cold, barely dressed, clinging to their dogs and mobile phones. From the other side of the street, in the shade of an abandoned service station, 26-year-old Anna Blair emerged from where she had been curled up under a discolored blanket. Her blue eyes flickered against the smoke, the bitter wind biting her face as she sat and watched the scene. The sirens resounded in the distance, but they were still minutes away. Screams were heard. Somewhere above the fire, the cry of a little boy pierced the air. People remained on the sidewalk, screaming, filming, panicking, but no one moved towards the flames. Anna stood up. She tightened the strongest coat she could find around her thin body and ran towards the building. The security guards shouted for her to stop. A maintenance worker tried to grab her by the arm. She shook them off without saying a word. From the open glass doors, she could see the staircase filled with smoke, and from the corridor on the first floor, the sound was heard again, closer this time. A child crying alone. Without hesitation, Anna threw herself towards the heat. She crouched, covering her nose with her sleeve while the smoke stung her eyes. The ceiling lights flickered. The alarms sounded at full volume. The air was dense and suffocating. "Hello," she shouted, coughing. "Where are you, darling?" A drowsy sobbing answered. Anna turned a corner, and there was a little boy, no older than 3 years old, barefoot in cartoon pajamas, holding a small stuffed elephant, his cheeks stained with sweat and tears. She ran towards him, kneeling. "All right," she whispered in a hoarse voice. "I have you. I am here." The boy did not speak. He only reached for her, and she lifted him in her arms, wrapping him in her coat around his small body. The corridor behind them creaked. The heat oppressed her from behind, like a living being. Anna bowed her head and ran out, holding the boy tight as she made her way through the smoke. Each step burned her. Her lungs screamed, then cold air, light, voices. She came out, staggering through the door, just as the first fire truck roared as it entered. The crowd's moans increased when they saw her come out covered in ash. With her hair disheveled and her eyes weeping, the paramedics rushed over. She handed the boy over to a firefighter with trembling arms. "All right," she said in a hoarse voice. He was alone. The boy screamed once when she let him go, but she was already moving away. The paramedics tried to approach her, asking her name, but Anna refused with a shake of her head. "I am fine," she murmured, turning towards the street. No one followed her. No one stopped her. She disappeared again into the grey of the morning, vanishing like smoke. Not 5 minutes later, a black SUV slowed down at the sidewalk. The door opened suddenly and 34-year-old Ethan Grayson ran out. He barely heard the voices calling him. His only target was the boy who was now sitting on the lap of a paramedic, wrapped in a silver blanket. "Leo!" The boy turned. "Dad!" Ethan raised him in his arms, hugging him so tightly that it seemed he would never let go. "What happened? Who took him out?" A paramedic answered. "A woman. No one knows her name, maybe a 20-year-old blonde. She simply ran in and took him out, but then she disappeared." Ethan looked around. He scanned the faces nearby, but she was no longer there. "Did she save him?" he asked in a tense voice. "Yes," said the doctor. "Without a doubt, she was the only one who went in." Ethan pressed his lips against his son's forehead, his heart beating loudly. Leo was safe and sound, thanks to her. He turned towards the building, saw the smoke still rising to the sky, and said in a low voice, more to himself than to others, "I'm going to find her." Ethan barely slept that night. Leo's image, clinging to a stranger, his small arms wrapped around someone he had never met, tormented him more than the flames could ever have done. He had asked everyone he could at the scene, firefighters, doctors, witnesses, but no one knew who she was. Just a woman, just someone who disappeared. In the morning, Ethan had already obtained images from the cameras on the nearest street and from the gas station next door. Hours of grainy video. He went through them all frame by frame until he saw her. Blonde hair, a long, heavy coat, thin arms holding Leo against her chest as she stumbled onto the street full of smoke. She was coughing, but never let go, and then she left. Another angle showed her sliding around the corner, disappearing into the old field behind the gas station. At noon, Ethan was standing outside the chain-link fence of an improvised tent camp hidden behind a convenience store and a forgotten alley. His expensive coat was unbuttoned amidst the pieces of cloth and cardboard that protected the people from the cold. Leo clung to his hand, his other hand holding a small stuffed dog. A man near the entrance looked at Ethan with fatigue. "Is he lost or something?" "I'm looking for someone," Ethan said. "She was here yesterday, maybe a 20-year-old blonde." "A lot of blondes," muttered the man. Ethan tried again. "She saved my son from the fire on 8th Street. There was a change in the atmosphere. Some people nearby now looked at him uncertainly. A woman pointed lower in the field. "She keeps to herself. She doesn't bother anyone. Her tent is next to the pile of old tires." Ethan nodded and took a step forward. He was halfway through a sentence, about to thank her, when he felt Leo's hand slip away. "It's her!" Leo's voice resounded loud and clear. Ethan turned around. The boy had run out on his little legs directly towards a crouched figure near a pile of firewood. "It's you!" Leo shouted. "You are my angel! You made the fire go out. You made me not be afraid anymore." The woman turned just in time to catch him. "Anna," she looked stunned while Leo hugged her around the neck with force. Her hands floated in the indecisive air. Then they slowly descended to rest on his back. She closed her eyes, her breath caught in her throat. When she opened them, Ethan was standing a few meters away. Their eyes met for the first time. She tried to speak, but the words failed her. Ethan knelt down next to his son. He extended his hand, gently placing a hand on Leo's shoulder. "It's her, buddy?" Leo nodded vehemently. "She kept me safe." Anna looked down, her cheeks reddened by the cold and shame. I only did what anyone would have done." "No," said Ethan gently. "You did what no one else did." She looked up again with cautious eyes. "Please, I don't want problems. I don't want attention." "You're not in trouble," said Ethan. "And I'm not with the media. I just wanted to thank you properly." She nodded gently. "It's not necessary, really." There was a silence, only broken by the wind whispering against the thin plastic walls of the nearby tents. Anna slowly let go of Leo, who remained by her side as if he belonged there. "I should go," she said, turning to her tent. Ethan didn't stop her. He saw her disappear behind the folds of the blue canvas. That afternoon, just before the sun set below the horizon, Anna found something leaning just outside her tent, a small box. Inside, a pair of winter boots, thick new socks, a simple first aid kit, and hidden under them a small folded note written in careful handwriting. I don't know your name, but I know you're good. If you ever need anything, please let me know. Anna looked at the note for a long time, her fingers trembling. She didn't smile, but for the first time in a long time, she felt something. It started with hot coffee and paper cups. Ethan had started visiting the camp every few days, not to meddle, but only to talk. He brought something small every time. Hot drinks, fruit, sometimes books. He never forced the conversation. He just sat, sometimes across from Anna on a broken box, sometimes next to her on the curb, and let the silence pass without pressure. She liked that about him. It was on the 5th visit, when the sun sat low behind the roofs, that she finally talked about the things she had buried more deeply. They sat near the bonfire that the residents of the camp used to warm themselves. The smoke rose in lazy spirals. Anna fixed her eyes on the flames, her fingers firmly clenched around her cup. Do you ever wonder how people end up like this? She asked without looking. Ethan waited a moment before answering. Sometimes, but I suppose there is always a story, she answered. Yes, there is always a story. There was a long pause before she continued in a low voice, barely above the crackling of the fire. My mum died when I was 9 years old. Mother's cancer. She died before I even understood what it meant to die. After that, it was just my dad and me. He was not, well, he drank a lot, too much. Some nights he slept in the closet just to keep me out of his way. Ethan didn't say a word. He just listened. I left home at 17. I took any job I could. Waitress, cleaner, nanny. I finally got a stable job as a nanny. I loved it. Her voice softened. Children are honest. You know they see you. They don't care what you have, just how you make them feel. He looked at her face in the light of the fire, worn out but still beautiful, marked by pain but firm. I used to dream of opening a place, she said, a real center for mothers who had no one. Safe childcare, food, a place to breathe. I thought maybe I could build something good out of everything I had lived. Ethan's heart tightened in his chest. I knew someone. Anna continued. At first he was kind. He said all the right things. He told me it didn't matter. I believed him. She blinked slowly. I got pregnant. I thought that for once life was finally taking a turn. She took a break. Her breathing hitched slightly. But when I told him, he left. He simply disappeared. No calls, no notes, nothing. She swallowed with difficulty. I was 7 months along when I lost the baby. Ethan's eyes widened, his voice barely audible. I'm so sorry. Anna nodded her head. I had a job at that time, but I missed too much work and the bills accumulated. I couldn't pay the rent. After the hospital, I had nowhere to go. Her voice cracked on the following words. One day, I simply stopped being someone people saw. A heavy silence fell between them. The fire popped and whistled, but neither of them moved. I don't steal, she finally said. I don't lie. I don't even ask for alms. People offer sometimes, but I say no unless I really need it. I can't give much, but when I have something, even just half a sandwich, I share it because I know what it's like to have nothing, and I know that others here have even less. Her eyes, when they turned to him, were filled with a calm strength. I'm not broken, Ethan, just tired. He put his hand in the pocket of his coat and took out a clean, folded white handkerchief with a carefully embroidered blue initial. He didn't speak. He simply extended his hand and placed it gently on the floor in front of her. Anna looked at him. Her lips parted in surprise. No pity, no big speeches, just a small act of kindness offered with respect. Her throat tightened. She slowly picked up the fabric. Her fingers were shaking. Something softened on her face. And for the first time in a long time, Anna Blair didn't feel invisible. It started with a simple offer. One afternoon, while the winter sun was filtering between the clouds in golden rays of light, Ethan was outside Anna's tent with Leo cradled on his hip, smiling and sticky from juice. "I have several consecutive meetings tomorrow," said Ethan, adjusting Leo's weight. "He asked me if you would be willing to take care of him for a couple of hours. Anyway, he doesn't stop asking about you." Anna seemed surprised, her eyes alternating between father and son. "Are you sure? No one has ever opened up to anyone, as he has done with you," said Ethan. "Honestly, I would be lucky to have you close." Anna hesitated, then slowly agreed. "Okay, but only if he wants me to do it." Leo responded by throwing himself from Ethan's arms directly into hers. "She is my angel," he announced, making them both laugh. What started as a few hours a week became almost every afternoon. Anna picked up Leo from nursery school when Ethan worked late, or spent the mornings with him on weekends in the nearby park. They developed rituals, breakfast burritos on Saturdays from the food truck on the corner, drawings with chalk on the sidewalk in front of Ethan's office, bedtime stories with funny voices. Anna became his constant, and on the other hand, Leo gave her something that she had not felt in years, a sense of home. One cold night, the three of them were sitting inside Ethan's cozy house near the city's edge. Leo had fallen asleep on the sofa next to Anna, curled up with his stuffed dog under his chin. She lifted him gently in her arms and carried him up, wrapping him under his warm blankets. The night light shone with a soft amber glow across the room. She sat next to him with a smile on her face and began to hum a lullaby, an old melody that her mother sang to her before everything fell apart. Leo moved his eyes, blinking them open for a moment. "Anna," he whispered. "I'm here, darling." He reached for her hand and began grabbing her fingers with his little ones. "Can I call you Mom?" Anna froze. Her breath got stuck in her chest. He looked at her sleepily, without any expectation or pressure. "Only because you feel like her," he murmured as he went back to sleep. Anna leaned down and pressed her cheek against his forehead, hugging him tightly. Her arms were shaking, tears rolled down her face in silence. She didn't stop them. Downstairs, Ethan was at the foot of the stairs. He had gone up moments before with the intention of saying goodnight, but he stopped when he heard Leo's voice. He heard everything. When Anna finally emerged, quickly wiping her face, she saw him there. His eyes met hers, soft with something unspoken, while hers were raw and vulnerable. Ethan didn't say a word. It wasn't necessary. The following weekend, he took Anna to see a plot of land on the east side of the city. The old structure that was there had been condemned years ago, and Ethan's firm had recently won the contract to redesign it as a community space. They walked the plot together, Leo running in front of them between the weeds and gravel. "It will be a youth center," said Ethan, stepping over a rusty pipe. "Maybe a shelter, depending on the zoning." Anna paused, looking around with new eyes. "You know what this place really needs?" said Ethan, turning to her. "Tell me." "A youth care center, but not only a nursery, a full support center for single mothers, affordable, accessible, and safe. A place where women can leave their children while they receive work training, therapy, help with housing, help with everything in one place." Ethan studied her face as she spoke. alive with passion, shining with hope. "You know how many women are like me," she continued. "They are not lazy. They are not broken. They are just stuck. And if they had a place like this, a second chance..." Ethan smiled slowly. "Have you thought about this before?" "It was my dream once," she admitted. "I guess it still is." He sighed with a full heart. "So let's build it." Anna blinked. "Are you serious?" "Completely. I have the team, I have the land, and now I have the vision." "Yours?" For a long time she said nothing. Then she smiled, small but real. Leo ran back to them with his little arms full of wildflowers. "Look at you!" he shouted, giving one to each of them. Ethan took her hand. His fingers brushed hers gently. In the calm warmth of that forgotten field, a bond began to take root. It was no longer gratitude, but something deeper, something real. Back in Ethan's studio, located on a quiet street near the river, Anna was sitting at a large drafting table, with coloured pencils scattered between cups of tea that were getting cold. The room smelled gently of cedar and ink, and the soft hum of jazz played in the background. A large blueprint was spread out in front of them. At the top, in Ethan's clean handwriting, read the words, "Small Lights, a community for children and hope." Anna held a pencil in her hand, but for a moment, she just stared at the paper. "Do you really want my opinion about this?" Ethan looked up from his tablet. "Yes, this is your vision. I only have the tools to make it come true." She hesitated, but then slowly began to draw. A small room with rounded corners, a reading nook next to a window, a wall painted with stars. While she was working her hand, her eyes became firmer, sharper. "We should have a room just for mothers," she murmured. "A quiet place with comfortable chairs, coffee, a place to breathe." Ethan leaned in. "I like that. What else?" They spent hours talking, drawing, and reimagining. The blank spaces on the plan began to fill with colour and life. Anna proposed a playground with recycled materials. Ethan added a rooftop garden. She suggested murals painted by local artists. He sketched a study space for art therapy. It wasn't long before the project stopped feeling hypothetical. It began to feel like their own. When day turned to night, the sunlight faded through the high windows. Anna moved away from the table with her arms crossed, her lips curled in a small smile. "Do you really think we can do this?" Ethan turned to her, putting his hands in his pockets. "Anna, you did more than save my son. You reminded me why I started designing places like this in the first place." She looked at him uncertainly. "You are not just part of this project," he added. "You are the heart of this." Her throat tightened. For the first time in years, she felt seen not as someone broken or burdened by her past, but as someone capable of something necessary. That night they walked along the path next to the river that led back to the busiest part of the city. The street shone with soft amber light and the breeze smelled of distant chimneys. They did not talk much. The silence between them had become comfortable. As they turned a corner and stopped under a tree, adorned with fading fairy lights, Ethan looked at her. He did not say a word. He simply reached for her hand. Anna's breathing stopped when his fingers gently intertwined with hers. Their eyes met. She did not see pressure in his gaze, or expectations, only warmth, only truth. In that moment of stillness, something changed. The distance between them was no longer so great, not between a man who had once lost his wife and a woman who had lost everything. Now they were both standing in the glow of something new, something that grew in silence and with constancy. The news came to light one Wednesday morning. A local news outlet had picked it up first. Millionaire architect seen with mysterious woman from fire telling fairy tales. The article included a blurred photo of Ethan and Anna leaving a cafe together with Leo jumping between them. At noon, it spread through social media like wildfire. The comments flooded in. It was a homeless woman. This has to be a setup. She is clearly taking advantage of him. From the streets to the heart of a millionaire. How convenient. Anna read the headlines with an empty stomach. She was not on social media, but the news traveled fast. People were whispering even inside the shelter now. She could feel the change in the way others looked at her. Less like a neighbor, more like a spectacle. Ethan tried to protect her. He rejected all the interviews. He turned away all the camera crews. He continued to appear by her side as before. But another person was not so forgiving. His mother. She called one afternoon while Ethan was with Anna and Leo in the park. He stepped aside to answer with a low and tense voice. Anna only caught fragments. "It's not like that, Mom. I know who she is. She saved Leo's life for the love of God." Later that night, he told her the truth. She believes that all this is a phase. He admitted it, avoiding her eyes. "That you are taking advantage of me." Anna remained in silence. She had feared that this day would come. A week later, they were in the kitchen of Ethan's house on a quiet Sunday morning. Leo was taking a nap upstairs. Anna was next to the window watching how the wind shook the trees. "I spoke to her again," Ethan said cautiously. Anna turned around. "Your mother?" He nodded. "She's only worried. She is protective. She doesn't even know me. She thinks that you are only here for what I can give you." Anna looked away. "And what do you think, Ethan?" He hesitated, a second too long. Then gently, "I just want to give you a better life, one that you deserve." The words fell like stones in her chest. She laughed once, a short and painful sound. "So this is what it is?" "What do you mean?" "Do you think I need to be rescued?" "No, Anna." "Do you think I'm broken? That I'm lucky to be here with you? That if it weren't for Leo, I would still be sleeping on the ground? And you would never look at me twice?" "That's not fair," said his voice rising. "She never said that." "But you thought it." He took a step towards her. "Anna." She turned back. Her eyes were wet now. "I thought this was real. I thought you saw me." "I do." "No, Ethan. You see someone to fix, not someone to love." She turned before he could speak again. By the time he got to the living room, she had already left. She didn't take anything, not the sweater he had bought her, not the scarf Leo had made with glitter and glue. Nothing. She only left a note folded on the coffee table, addressed with careful writing. Ethan sat down slowly. His hands trembled as he opened it. "Dear Leo, you are the brightest light I've ever known. You made me feel safe when I thought I would never do it again. But I'm not meant to be your mother. You deserve someone complete, someone without so many cracks. Thank you for loving me anyway, Anna." The words blurred with Ethan's tears. Upstairs, Leo called softly in his dreams. "Mom." Ethan closed his eyes, pressing the note against his chest. And for the first time since the fire, the house felt completely empty. The lights of the gallery were warm, projecting a soft glow on the rows of stools and display panels arranged along the brick walls. Dozens of sketches and 3D models covered each room with a piece of the future. In the center, a large, detailed model of the Small Lights Children's Center was raised. Ethan adjusted the microphone on the podium while the room filled with community leaders, city officials, journalists, and residents. The cameras flashed. Murmurs of curiosity rippled through the crowd. It was the first public presentation of his most personal project to date. But for Ethan, this was not architecture. It was her. He took a deep breath and began. "This," he said, pointing to the huge blueprint behind him, "is more than a building. It is more than a project or a proposal. It is a promise." The crowd stood still. "I have spent years designing spaces for people who have been ignored, rebuilding neighborhoods, shelters, parks. But this one changed me." He paused. His voice became calmer, more deliberate. "Many of you may have heard rumors. You may have seen headlines about a woman, a so-called mysterious savior from last month's fire." Some nodded, some cameras clicked. "I know who she is, and I want you to meet her too." Ethan turned his gaze, heading to the first row where Leo was sitting next to a friend, clutching a small bouquet of paper flowers. She did not want recognition. She did not want fame. She did not even want thanks. She just wanted to help. He stepped down and pointed to a smaller board behind him. The original sketches by Anna, handmade. The reading nook, the mother's room, the play therapy space. She helped design this. She inspired every inch of this. Her name is Anna Blair. A wave of recognition went through the room. Ethan returned to the microphone, his voice thick with emotion. "Anna did not need me to save her. I needed her to remind me why I do what I do. She saved my son's life and gave a new meaning to mine." He looked down for a second, composing himself. Then he looked directly at the sea of cameras. "She is not a project. She is not a charity case. She is the bravest, kindest, and brightest woman I have ever known. And I love her." There was a moment of silence, then an eruption of applause. The phones were recording, the journalists scribbling notes, but Ethan did not look at them. Outside, on the other side of the street, under the streetlight and shadows, Anna remained half hidden, her coat pulled tight around her. She had only come to see the turnout. She had told herself that she would leave before he went on stage. But then she heard her name, and then she heard everything else. Tears slipped down her cheeks while she saw Ethan speak, while she saw Leo shaking her paper flowers, while she saw the room full of people who believed in something she had helped to build. She had never imagined being seen like this. And for the first time in years, Anna did not feel like a ghost in the life of another person. She felt real. She felt loved. A soft breeze brought the aroma of fresh paint and freshly planted flowers, while people gathered under a white canopy adorned with paper lanterns. Balloons floated under the morning sun, and a banner spread out along the entrance of the building with large and colorful letters, "Grand Opening, Small Lights Children's Center." The building stood bright and full of life. The walls were painted with murals of hearts, stars, and hopeful hands. Inside, the classrooms waited with shelves of books, chairs, small art materials, and rooms designed with warmth and care. Next to the main doors hung a polished brass plate that read, "Small Lights," founded by Anna Blair and Ethan Grayson. Anna was standing next to the steps, dressed simply, but shining under the morning light. She greeted each guest with a smile, clasping hands, hugging women she had met through shelters and support groups. Many of them came with children, some shy, others with their eyes wide open in amazement, as they ran towards their new second home. She had been appointed director of the center just 2 weeks earlier. The role fit her, as if she had been waiting for it all along. She was the heartbeat of the place, patient, present, and full of purpose. Near the edge of the crowd, Leo danced among the guests with a pinwheel in one hand and a small plastic helmet on his head. "I helped build the reading room," he shouted proudly to whoever would listen. Ethan was next to Anna while she was finishing her welcome speech. His hand touched hers. She looked at him and he smiled, but there was something nervous in his eyes, excited, hopeful. When the applause stopped, Ethan took the microphone one last time. "I want to thank everyone who helped to bring small lights to life," he said. "And one person above all." He turned to Anna and Leo. He knelt not in front of Anna, but in front of Leo. "Leo," he said softly, "I have a very important question for you." The crowd laughed softly. Anna froze with her eyes wide open, her hand going to her chest. Ethan continued, "If I asked your angel, Miss Anna, to marry me, would you agree with that?" Leo's eyes lit up. He let go of his pinwheel and threw his arms up in the air. "Yes, yes, absolutely, yes. Now I can have a real mom." Laughter spread through the crowd, followed by some silent tears. Then Ethan stood up and turned to Anna. His voice was softer now, just for her. "You saved my son. You changed my life. You made me believe again in family, in healing, in love. Anna Blair, do you want to marry me?" Tears sprang to her eyes. She sighed and whispered, "Yes." He hugged her, and Leo stumbled between them, wrapping his arms around their legs. The three of them remained together, intertwined in each other's arms, while the crowd cheered. The camera shutters clicked, and the morning sun broke through the clouds. Later, as they walked hand in hand along the garden path behind the center with Leo skipping ahead, Anna looked back. The building shone under the golden light. The windows glowed like promises. Laughter drifted through the open doors, and for the first time in her life, Anna was not only surviving, she was home. If this story moved your heart even a little, if it made you believe again in the power of kindness, second chances, and the silent force of love, then this is your place. In stories that move the soul, we bring you real, emotional, and unforgettable tales that heal, inspire, and remind us what really matters. Do not forget to click the like button, subscribe to our channel, and activate notifications so you never miss a story that could change your day or even your life. Thank you for watching. We feel honored to have you here. Until next time, stay kind, stay hopeful, and keep believing in beautiful endings.